Hi all, let me do a quick recap on what we have been doing. So this is the URL which we are using for our API automation efforts. And the last video we did the get request, and if I can also tell you that we also have Postman collection set which I created. I explained how did I create this in the last videos. So these are all the request, or basically each request here corresponds to a test case. So here I'm trying to test an API which has all these methods: get, post, patch, delete. All these things are there, and I have created a Postman collections because before we start automating any API, we need to make sure that whatever we need to test is properly documented. So this is what I've done here. Okay, so all these, every single entity here which you see under this collection is a sort of a test case. So I've written 1 2 3 4 5 6 test cases for get, then I have written around similar 5 or 6 for post, and then few for put and patch, and one for option, one for delete. So this is what I'm going to automate. So this video is all about automating the post, because the get is what I have explained in the last video. So in the last video, if I do a quick recap again for the get, this is what I did. So I automated all these 6 test cases here, and I've written how I've also explained how I am doing it. I'm also validating it here, and I'm also capturing the response, and I'm printing it here. This is the server name, and this is the access token, because this API requires the access token here. So I put here as authentication OAuth2 access token. How did I come to know this? I came to know because this was present in the API documentation here. As I said, API documentation is a very important thing, without which you cannot really test an API, because you need to know what that specific API is capable of doing. So without knowing what this API is capable of doing, you will not be able to do anything with it. So this documentation will be available to you. This is an open gorest.co.in. This is an open API just for, as you see here, free online REST API for testing and prototyping. But in the real time, the API which you're going to get will be created by a developer, and the developer or the BA will be giving you the documentation. It might not be in this format. It could be a simple document, or it could be a simple Jira, or it could be anything, right? But you should know what to ask and what will be the right question to ask. If something is missing in the documentation, it's under your right to ask those questions to developer on asking what will be the endpoints, what are the format of a post, what is the outcome of that, what is authentication, right? All this information is you need before you go and test it. Having said that, right now what we are doing is automation of this post request. So if I go back here, if I first do it from here, so let me first try to do it from here, right? So what I'll do, this is what I've created. So this is a post create user positive. So I have listed one positive and rest of the things are negative, because when you go and test something, you need to test both. uh, Positive is something which usually people already test, so different combination of positive is what you can try, but negatives are the areas where the API is most vulnerable, or any software is most vulnerable. So you need to test the negative aspect of any software. So API in this case is our software. So I have written only one positive and 4 negative test cases for it. So let me try with first positive. And as I said, before you start automating something, you need to first try it manually. That's the way forward. That's how everything has been, all the testing efforts are happen. You cannot just start automating something immediately. First you need to analyze it, and this manual test or exploratory test is a way of analyzing that specific software, so that you know and you understand and you see the behavior associated with it. So right now I am doing the positive case for this creation, user creation. This is the method post, this is the API, this is the server, this is the endpoint. Again, how did I come to know this? From here, because it's written how will I use this post method here, right? So next thing I need to do is the body, because in post we need to send the body as well. And these are the 4 parameters which are mandatory parameters for me to be able to create this entity in the server, right? So let me do it. So if I do female KDT something, some last name, middle name, like this, and then I change this, This will be unique because this email has to be unique. Then I click on send. As soon as I do this, I get a message here, right? So meta success to 200, status is 200, okay here. This is code 200, message okay, everything worked as expected. So I will going to validate this. This is what I was validating in the get request example. You can see that in the last video. So here as well, I have to check this. Then I also have to check that information which I've sent here, which is 4 values, are also coming here. So first name, last name, gender, and email. And I can also validate that the information which I am not sending from here should be marked as null. Right? So this is also something which I should be checking. I can check that, and I'm supposed to be checking this because you never know. There could be hidden defect where I'm not sending something and the API is by default putting something there. For example, I'm not sending status and it's marking it as inactive. That is a wrong behavior, right? So all that validations I need to do, but for primarily I need to check 6 things, right? 7. So 3 of these values and 4 of these values. This is what I need to check, right? So my positive test case seems to be working fine, and based on this only I am going to automate it. Before we go ahead and automate this scenario, let me just check the other ones, and let me first show you as well how we can validate this in the UI as well. So if I copy this, I can show you. If I copy this, I'll go to public data, because this is a special API. This also gives us access to its database. So this is the data. This is its database, where whatever we are doing from the API is getting saved in this database, and this database is being rendered here as a HTML table. So if I go and search it here, I'm seeing this. See, this is information which I just sent. 7762 is the ID, and this is what I have, 7762. Right now. And this can also be my another validation. So in this case, I need to first kick an API, and then API will create something, and then I'll go to the UI using Selenium, and then in that UI I can do something like this. So there can be a test case where both UI API and UI steps are there in that test case. So sometimes you might get a confusion whether in any project, if API is being tested in that specific project, only API is being tested, and there will not be any Selenium or not be any UI check. It's it doesn't work that way. There are many projects where the test cases, a single test cases, has to interact with API as well as UIs. This can be one of your case wherein you are creating something from the API, and then you have to open the UI to validate whether that information is being displayed here. Right now, there can also be a step there where you have to hit a database to validate the via query. You need to do a JDBC connection, then you fire a query, you'll get the result set, and there you will validate whether information is coming right or not. Right, so there can be different kind of validations. Right now, for this specific video, for this specific project, we are not going to do all that. What we are focused here right now is only the API hit and API response validation. That's it. Maybe later I can just show you a test where I'm creating some entity from API, and then I'm going to the UI in a single test case, going to the UI and then validating this. So maybe I can do that later. Sorry for digressing. So I'll go back to my Postman. I'll come here. Now I need to test negative. So in this test case, as name suggests, post user negative, send empty body. Here I'm not sending any body. It's set to none. If I click on send, I should get a message. This is a negative test case. I should get all these messages. I need to validate all these messages. Right? Then I'll go back here. Again, headers. This body has all fields but no value. In this case, in the body, I'm sending nothing. Again, click on send. I will get the similar kind of message. Cannot be blank. Now body has all values, but in this case, some incorrect values. So this is temp1 and email. This is not supposed to be an email. This is also not something which can be considered as a gender. If I do this, let's see if the API responds correctly. Yes, API is saying gender is invalid, email is not valid, email address. And fifth one is, again, body is all fields but incorrect data type. In this case, again, last name is 1234, first name is true, right? So this, the API dictates that whatever key we have, the value should be a string. If you go here, the value is a string, like this is separated by a string, right? And now in this case, I am passing integer. This is a boolean, this is integer, this is integer. So if I do a send, I'm getting this. Gender must be a string. Gender must be a string. Email is not a valid email address. All these messages I am getting. I should be validating these, right? So this is what we are going to automate next. Okay, so now we can start automating it. Okay, so let me start with the first test case, which is the positive test case. Now let me go back to my Eclipse, and here I will open the post request, right? So I've already written here server name and the access token. So this is being repeated here. I've already written things here, and I have to repeat this here. So later we are going to work on how can we make this code more reusable by maybe putting this inside a class file, which is a constant class file, or we can have it inside a configuration file from where we could read it using properties. Maybe we'll do that later, but for now, to keep things simple, we'll keep it as it is at the top. Now in any post test case, so if I put this into contrast with the get, all I'm doing is following some steps. So I'm giving some URL here, then authentication, then hitting the API, and then us doing some assertions, right? But in the post, things are slightly different. We need to set header, we need to set body. Before we even go and hit that method called as post, we need to set header and body, which was not the case with the get. So in the get, all we needed to do was set some authentication, and that's it. We do a get. But in the post, we need two things. We need to set header as well as we need to set a body. For setting headers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a hash map, because that is what process should dictates. I can set header in two ways. Either I can send it in a string format, or I can also create a hash map and pass that hash map inside my in the given part in the header section. So let me create a hash map, string of string, hash map header, new hash map, string of string. That's it. Then I'm going to put hash map header dot put. That's how I add a value inside a hash map. So how will I know what needs to be added? I'll go back to my Postman and see what was the headers which was sent. Wait, let me send some more values here. Right, so one is the most important header which I need here is this content type, which is application JSON, because with the post method, the post again is a you can say is a verb. It's a HTTP protocol method, and in the body we have something. That something has to be notified inside the HTTP header section, and that is what we are doing. So this is a packet head, this is header, this is body, and header we have a field called as content type as application JSON. So we need to mention that this HTTP protocol package has JSON file in its body. That is what we need. That's why we need to set this header. That is what we are going to put it in the key section here. And sorry, copy. So now my header is set. In case we need to set more headers, that's what you need to do. Sometimes in the real project we need to set many headers. So next time you need to add some more header, you're going to add that here, and you put some value here and its value here. Whatever it is, you are going to get it from here. So if it is working from the Postman and the header which you're sending from here, the same thing you need to put here. Right now content type is what here, and you also can see some temporary headers. These are not important because these are being set by there are some default values to it, so you don't need to really bother about this temporary headers. All you need to worry about this main header. Main header is only one here. That's what I put, so I will remove it from here. Now the body part. The body, This is what I need to send, right? So I will copy this and I will create a string right here, body string and its value. Sorry, I'll paste it here like this. Okay, now this is not the right way to do it. Okay, what if your body becomes very big? You're not supposed to write it here, right? Multiple ways to do it. Either you can keep it outside in a text file and give a reference here. The rest assured has method, a overloaded method which accepts a file name of the body text and it will do it. Another way of doing it is create a JSON using a library. I'm not covering that for now, but in the previous examples, I have actually done that. But for now, we'll keep things simple, as I want to make things easy for everyone to understand. I'm not add any external complexities into it. So because in this case my JSON file is very simple, very small, so this can solve my purpose, right? Now I want to do one thing. That one thing is I don't want this hard-coded value here, because every time I will run this test case, it has to have a different email ID. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will have to parameterize this specific text here. Name as well as the gender, this can remain the same, but the email ID is a unique thing which we need, and I can also show you. So for this, I created the data, everything worked fine. But if I do a post again for using same email ID, if I do this, the API will say that this ID has already been taken, right? So this will not work. So if I run this test case again, it will try to create the email entity using the same email ID and it will start failing, right? And we don't want it. So every time we run this, we need a separate ID, right? To do that, we created a method. That method is what I'm going to copy from, I think I have used it here. Yeah, so it's can get random string, and again, I don't want to keep it a duplicate copy everywhere. So what I'm going to do inside this trial JUnit, I am going to create, by the way, I think I made a mistake. I am on a wrong branch, but anyway, I will move it later. So maybe for now, I'll keep it here only. Maybe in the main branch, I will do it. So let me go back to my post request and I will paste it here. Again, for simplicity purpose, this is not a good practice to make these copies in all classes. So what I'm going to do is, this is a method. This is responsible for giving me random string based on the number of, if I pass here 3, it will give me a random string which has 3 characters. If I pass 10, it will get 10. So what I'll do, I will remove this part till here and use this particular method. So before that, I will write another step at the top. Get random string for email. I'll write here string email, and I'll write here, let's say I want the email with 10 characters. All right, maybe 10 is high, so let's say 7. Now in this 7 email, I need to parameterize this and put it here, right? So as I said in the last class also, the last video, how will I parameterize something, right? So what I'll do, whatever I need to parameterize, I will highlight that and I will put 2 double quotes. I'll go inside, then to put 2 plus signs, then go inside and add the value. Okay, now it seems I've added some there because there are many double quotes, so maybe I made a mistake. Let me see. So I figured out the mistake. So let me do one thing. The rule still remains same, but it was the Eclipse was adding 1 extra double quote. So let me separate it here so that we can actually see what's happening. So as I said, the rule is whatever you wish to parameterize, you will highlight that from the string. You put a double quotes. Right now it's adding 3 quotes, so I'll remove the 1. 2 double quotes, then go inside 2 plus symbols from inside, and then write a variable name. And this will parameterize it, and I would need to remove extra spaces from here, which I added earlier. Now my string is ready. Here I will write some sensible name, so last name or last name. I'll write here perhaps Vision IT. First name Vision IT, something like this. Now comes the next part where I need to actually write the statement. So I'll write here given dot base URI. Now my base URI is server, so I'll put here server. Then again I should be writing it in a next line format, so I'll click here dot. Then I need to put some authentication, right? So authentication dot OAuth2 access token. My access token is this, so I'll write here access token dot. Again, how did I come to know I don't need to do that? From here again. From here, I'm repeating this again. If you're not getting something, you need to go back to the API documentation. So here it's clearly written OAuth2 access token obtained from the this, and this URL, this value I'm getting from this, which is access token here. Again, you should not be using my access token. You should be logging into this API and generate your own access token. Now, next thing which I'm going to do is after auth, as I said, I need to put a header and a body, right? So to do that, I'll write here header. Now in the header, I have multiple options. I'm going to use this one. In this, I can have the option to put a map. Otherwise, you could also have put using this, the key and value, right? So here I'm going to do this using my HM header. So I'm going to put my header object inside this. Then dot. Next thing I want to do is body. So body here, I'll write here body string dot dot. Now my header is set, my body is set. Now comes the when part. When dot post. Okay, in the post I need to put the endpoint. My endpoint in this case will be this. This is my endpoint. Once this happens, then dot. Now I need to write here then dot. First of all, I need to check the status code. The status code in this case, again, remember, it's not this status code for this specific validation, which is status code method. We need to check this. This API is a special API where every time you hit something, it will always return you 200, right? This is how this API is designed, and the actual status code will be mentioned here. So every time we run this, we need to validate this as 200 because this is what it is returning most of the cases. Status code 1 is checked. Then I will write here assert that dot. Then I can start writing my text, right? So validation part. So in the validation part, I can write here. Let me create another one. Send. So I need to check, as I said, I need to check success code message and these 5 values, right? So if I start writing them, body. Now which body I should be checking? Which body method I should be calling? Now there are a number of body methods. Every one of them is capable of doing something, and what it is capable of doing is clearly mentioned here with the example. This is a very good Java document and intelligence which you're seeing here, and how this method will be used, what kind of arguments it's going to accept, everything is mentioned here. So it's very useful. In this specific case, I'm using this one. So here I'm in the string, I'm going to write JSON path, and here I'm going to write matcher. Matcher here simply means a hemcrest matcher. As I said, hemcrest is an assertion library, and that assertion library is being extensively used by REST Assured API for validation part. Right? So here if you clearly see, if you are getting this as a JSON, if you want to validate something, you can write get then assert that dot body. Here you're going to write here the JSON path. So loto.loto ID in this case is returning loto.loto ID returning 5. So you're going to write loader ID, which is returning 5. It should be equal to 5. So at runtime, it will going to validate that for you. Okay, so the different examples are here. Equal to, has item. Then you have, you can use and to check multiple bodies, right? So many examples are here, many ways you can do it. And it also can validate XMLs, but in this case, we are not dealing with XMLs, we are dealing with JSON. So we are going to use this one. Now, in the path, the first thing I will do is meta.success, meta.code, and meta.message is what I'm going to validate. So I'm going to write underscore meta.success equal to true, right? Then, and so I can do this different things, right? So I can do, okay, I'm missing a bracket here, dot and dot body. Again, this one I'm going to use. Here I'm going to write underscore meta dot code, and for it should be equal to 200. And now I'm going to quickly do it. So I'll copy paste. I've copy pasted multiple things multiple times so that I can write it. So meta.success is true, meta.code is 200, meta.message. So meta.message is okay, everything worked as expected. Then result dot first name. So what I'm going to do here, this time I'm going to check result. Now this is not an array, this is an object, so this directly can be accessible using result dot first name, right? So result dot first name, I need to write this here. Result dot last name, I'm going to write, okay, my mistake, first name and last name, and these are strings, so I need to put this inside a string. A string, first name, last name, then gender. Now this is the result, so result dot gender is female, so this is what I need to write here. And dot body, now I need to check one more thing, that is email. So I'll copy this, this is my email, but here this is a parameterized value, so I'm going to put a variable here. So I will write here a variable name. This is a right. So my first level of validation is completed. So what will happen in this case? It will be a given statement. Okay, it is doing authentication, header setting, body, when, post, it is hitting this API, then it validate the status code, which is this status code, then assert that further assertions of the body part. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 assertions I'm doing, which is this, as well as I said in as I also was telling you that we can also validate whether the value which I'm not sending from here is not set with another value. It should be set with a null value. So I can also check it. So what I'll do, maybe I'll put another check here. Here I will write DOB, result.DOB is set as perhaps null. Right, so I can validate that as well. I should be doing for all, but to keep things simple, again, I'm doing this much only. Now, what is the next part? The next part is, first of all, I need to print the response as well, right? So I will have to capture the response because I want to print it. So response rest is equal to, and here I'm going to write dot extract dot response. right? So it's returning a response, and that is what I would like to print here. System.out.println. Response for this post request rsp.string. Now, as I said, this is not the end because this is one level of validation. Second is I need to do last assertion, which is fire a get and check post has executed the data. Now the thing is, I need to validate whether whatever ID is being generated, when I do a get on this ID, I'm also getting the response back with the same details. This is another level of validation for this, and needs to be done for all the post methods. All the post methods, I need to create this, like this assertion. So how will I achieve that? So what I'll do, so I have a response, and this response has everything in it, including this text. What I need to do is I need to fetch this information out of the response object. So what I'll do, I will write a statement. String ID is equal to response dot JSON path. Now, this is a method, another method which can be used to fetch information out of that JSON file, right? So I'll call this method JSON path dot get string, because I'm expecting a string to be written. So I'm going to write get string. Inside this, I need to write a path. Path should be result dot id. So I'll write here result dot id. This is going to give me an id at runtime, and this is what I'm going to use for hitting it. So what I'll do, I'll write here response resp get is equal to given dot base URI, because I need to hit a server again, so I need to write the whole statement again dot auth, or rather let me copy this part. Let me copy maybe the get part from here. Maybe the whole set I'll copy. Response underscore get. Here access token is this, this is this. The get is what I need to do. 1 minute. When get user, so let me find out what is the endpoint for getting this information for a specific user. So I need to append this ID here. So I will append an ID here plus, which is an ID. So this ID I am appending here. So what will happen? It will be a given the base URI authentication. When we do a get for this specific ID, then assert that status code is 200, and the information which is success code message I am receiving here. Then I should also be validating something else. I should be validating not empty array is fine, but I should also be validating the information which is coming here. So I will be validating, I think the same thing, same 4 thing I should be validating again here, like this. Let me remove these ands from here. Again, this is not mandatory to use. It will still take it. So you don't really have to use it. And even I have used these ands here, again, not required to be used. It will behave the same way. Let me remove these for now to make things smaller. It's less line consuming code. Right, so the same test which I'm doing here, the same test, 4 test values I should be validating here, because that is what I'm going to get for this. Right, so this will also get validated. Let me write the same command. response for the ID, response for the ID, sorry, for the get request for ID, maybe less simple. Let's keep it simple. So this will be my final version of the test case, which is this. Okay, and if I go and run this, let's see whether it runs properly. Yep. So it is saying meta.success does not match on what line. Let's see. So meta.success is coming as expected true, actual is false. Let's see what happened. Okay, sometimes something is not clearly right? So I'm expecting a true and it is giving me a false. That means something is not right. So how will I know that what has went wrong? So to do that, we need to start debugging. So debugging, there are multiple ways of doing it, right? Either I put a proper debug point and run it in a debug way, or I can just simply do one thing. Instead of, I know the validation is failing, right? So what I should be doing first is I should see what it is returning. Right now, all visibility which I have right now is whether something is false, something is true. That is it. I need to see what exactly is the error. To do that, what I need to do, I need to actually run only this much and then get the response and then try to print it, right? How will I do it? So what I will do, I will comment the code and I'll only run this much. So what I'll do, I will copy code here, comment the rest of the code because I don't need it for now, and I will do a s string. That means it will return me as something in this response in a string format. Then write here string a, and then I will write here sys out and print the statement. Let's see what happens. So let me go and run it. If I run this, the response is printed. So meta success false. Yes, we knew that. Then it's saying message data validation failed. Please check the response body. And then it is telling me what got. Okay, so in this case, I think the email which we are sending it's saying it's not a valid email address. That means something to do with this, which is right, because in this email, I'm only returning a string, but I'm not appending @gmail.com to it, right? And that is why it's saying. So that is why it's saying that email is not a valid email. Now, if I do this again, click on run, and this time it has created, right? So code is coming as 201 here. So what I'm going to do, let me remove this. Now I think the code should work. Remove this, and I think I made a mistake here because meta.code is 201 as we saw in the email. So whenever we hit something and when we create something is created in the server, the code returned is a 201. Again, I'm insisting, again I'm telling the same thing, which that is the status code is different than this code. 201 is coming here in this case, specific case is coming in the body part 201, and the status code is 200, right? This is always the case for this API. It doesn't happen with others, but in this API, this is what is happening. Okay, let me see. So resource was created in response to a post request. Something is not adding up. Something is not right. Let me see, because here the message which is coming here is different than what I'm receiving here. Okay, let me see. Let me, to debug it, let me just break these lines. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll remove this extract response from here, and I will do dot as string, not as string, break here, then I will put this statement here. So I have actually broken this this big statements into two parts. So response, then response dot then, right? Then I'm going to print the statement here so that every time when I run this, I get to know what exactly is being returned. Okay, now let's see. Run. So I see this is working fine now, and I need to write the values based on the information which I have here. So what I'll do is the status code is 200, but the success code is 201. And what I'm getting here, which is a message, a resource was successfully created in response to a post request for newly created source. So I'll copy this and I will paste it here. Okay. Then in the body part, which is result dot first name dot last name, everything will remain the same. So now if I go and run this, 302 expected the status code is 200 but was 302. So I investigated and it turns out that when you hit this API using Postman, it gives some different values, some status codes, etc. It will actually have the same effect inside the API. The data will be created the same way, but the status codes and the message here will be a little bit different. So if I'm hitting from the Postman, there are some additional headers which is being sent by Postman by default. Because of this change difference in behavior is observed. But in this case, we are using the rest assured, and we can solve this by putting in some extra headers. But in this case, we don't need to, because our original work is being handled properly. So I wanted to create some data is being created successfully. All I need to do is to keep this header sections as it is, and I will add specific things. For example, expected status code here is 200 I'm expecting, but actual when I use rest assured, I'm getting 302. So I should be putting 302 here. I'll write here 302. Now this is something which we need to talk to developer. This can clearly be a defect. This has a symptom of being a defect. It's always good to go and talk to developer and why we are seeing this difference in with the rest assured and the Postman. In Postman, if I'm running this, I'm getting code is 200, status is 200, but here I'm getting code is 201. Even the message is different. But good thing is the result is behaving the same way. That means irrespective of if I'm doing it from Postman or I'm doing it from rest assured, the lines, the result is the same. The entity is actually being created. So this is something which we need to talk to developer. In this case, the developer is absent. I mean, we cannot go and talk to him because I don't know. We can raise a query to this person, whoever is created this API. But in real environment, live environment, you can actually go to developer to discuss this. For now, we are going to customize or modify our test case based on how it is responding in using rest assured. So it is expecting code is 200 but was 302. That means we want 302 here. 302 actually indicates some redirection, right? You can go and Google it what it means, but status code timing is 302. Rest of the things we're going to validate the same. So if I go and run this again, let's see whether it would pass this time. Yeah, so it is passed. And for get, it behaved the same. So status code was same for get 200. So my test case is passed, and both the time it has printed. Response for get is this, response for post is this. So my first positive test case is completed. Next, what I'm going to do is, we're going to do the negative test cases. Maybe I'll record a separate video for it.